Nobody tells you this when you're young, but most people are living a life they never truly chose. From the moment you take your first breath, the world starts sketching your blueprint. Not in pencil, either, in ink. And if you're not careful, you'll spend decades coloring inside lines that were never yours to begin with. Your name is chosen for you, your environment, your beliefs, your education, your ideas about what's right and wrong, what's possible or impossible. None of it starts with you. You inherit it, you absorb it, you follow it, not because you're weak, but because that's how survival works when you're young. You take cues from the people around you, and if you're praised for fitting in and punished for standing out, what do you think you'll keep doing? That's how a life gets designed for you. Quietly, gradually, unconsciously. You go to school because you're told to. You raise your hand, not because you're curious, but because you've been trained to seek approval. You chase grades instead of growth. You ask, will this be on the test? Instead of asking, why does this matter to me? You learn to memorize, to obey, to blend in. And by the time you're 18, most of what you believe has been carefully installed by people who were just repeating what someone told them. You call it life, but really, it's a program. So here's the question. Was your life designed by you or for you? Because there's a difference. When a life is designed for you, it follows a script. Graduate, get a job, find a partner, get married, buy a house, have kids, work, retire, die. No room for improvisation, no space for asking why. The rhythm is predictable and safe and celebrated, but a life that's designed by you, that's messier, slower, scarier, and real. Designing your own life isn't about rebellion, it's about responsibility. It's about realizing that you are the architect now. And that means you're allowed to change the floor plan. You're allowed to tear it all down and start over. But that freedom, it comes with a cost. And the cost is truth. Because once you start questioning the design, everything shifts. You start noticing how much of your life was built on autopilot. You realize that the job that pays well is also the one that drains your soul. You see that the relationship you're in feels more like routine than connection. You notice that the goals you've been chasing aren't yours, they're inherited. And that discomfort you feel, that quiet sense of being out of place in your own life, that's your truth trying to get your attention. Most people ignore it. They drown it in distraction, scroll more, drink more, shop more, complain more, because confronting it means rewriting the entire story. But here's the thing about stories, you can write a new one, even if you've been following someone else's for years. The first step, get honest. Ask yourself, what parts of my life did I actually choose? What beliefs do I hold that don't feel like mine? Who am I trying to impress and why? And then sit in the silence that follows. Because when the noise dies down, something bigger shows up. Clarity. Clarity is uncomfortable. It reveals the gap between the life you have and the life you want. It forces you to admit what you've been avoiding. And for a while, it might make you feel like your world is falling apart. But maybe it's not falling apart. Maybe it's falling into place because a life built on someone else's values will always feel slightly off. It might look successful, it might earn applause, but deep down, there's a quiet ache, a sense that something's missing, that you're meant for more, but you're not sure what more even means. That's the moment people call a midlife crisis, but it's not a crisis, it's an awakening. It's your soul whispering, hey, this isn't it. The truth is, you're not lost. You're just finally seeing the map for what it is, a map that was handed to you, not drawn by you. So, how do you begin again? Start by making micro choices, not massive leaps. You don't need to quit your job and move to Bali tomorrow, but maybe you stop pretending you like small talk. Maybe you start writing again. Maybe you say no to a dinner you don't want to go to. Maybe you finally admit that you're not okay, and that's okay. Small moments, real decisions. That's how the shift begins. And when you start living in alignment, when your actions match your values, you'll notice something strange. You need less, you perform less, you chase less, because fulfillment doesn't come from more, it comes from meaning. But let me warn you, alignment is lonely at first, because not everyone will understand. Some people will say you've changed, and they're right, you have, because staying the same would have cost you your peace. You'll have to grieve the life you outgrow, not because it was all bad, but because it's no longer true. Growth is grief. Letting go of the roles you played, the masks you wore, the versions of yourself that made other people comfortable. But what's on the other side of that grief? Freedom, joy, peace that isn't performative, connection that isn't forced, a life that actually feels like yours. And here's the wild part: when you stop trying to fit in, you start to belong, not to a group, not to an identity, but to yourself. You belong in your own body, your own timeline, your own truth. And once you taste that kind of life, you can't go back. Not because you're better than anyone, but because you finally remember who you are. You stop asking, what do people expect of me? And you start asking, what feels right to me? That's what it means to design your life. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you're finally asking the right questions. So I'll ask you again: was your life designed by you or for you? And more importantly, are you ready to start designing it yourself? Because no one is coming to save you, and no one is coming to stop you either. This is your permission slip to dream differently, to live boldly, to let go of the life you were told to live and start building the one that actually fits. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. That's how it begins. And years from now, when people ask you how you did it, how you broke free, how you found yourself, how you created a life of peace in a world that profits off your distraction, you'll smile because you'll know the truth. You stopped following a design that wasn't yours and you started building one that was. That's what changes everything. That's when your life finally begins.